Alright, so right now what I'm going to do in the pursuit of getting the insulation done is drill out the rub rails for 1/4-inch rivets, because they kind of match the size of these fasteners. So we're going to get about roughly 60 of those done on this side, and we'll drill the holes first, and then I'll put the rivets in with some caulking to seal them up, and then we'll work inside. After we've got the insulation up on both sides inside, my intention is to then come back outside on a nice day. Hopefully we get some nice weather still, and get the wire wheeling and painting done. I don't know, I might get that done today depending on how much insulation I get cut. We'll see. Okay, so the drilling's coming along pretty quickly here. Before you know it, I'll be filling these with caulk and putting rivets in them. Okay, so I have all the rivets placed on this side on the rub rail. I used a clear OSI sealant this time. I picked this up in Elkhart. It's this stuff here, this quad all-season formula. It's awfully sticky. I don't know if it's silicone based or not, but it's got a lot of stickiness to it, so hopefully that'll do a good job of sealing the rivets on the inside. But from the outside we'll still use a polyurethane based probably seam sealer or something. I don't know, we'll see what we got. But anyhow, I'm about to punch these rivets in. Okay, we got the rub rail riveted back on at the top there, and probably would have been better if I'd never taken the screws out, but I thought I was going to need to slide the panel down into the rub rail. Actually, would have been wise if I did that a little more, but I ended up resting them on the edge of the rub rail to keep the panels level as much as I could. So anyhow, I'm going to go to the other side of the bus and do the same thing, drill them out and put rivets on that side. Alright, so I also got this sealed up, going all the way up. I had to add a few more at the top where I'd missed before. What happened is when I was doing the panels, I kind of ran out of rivets, kind of ran out of steam and mojo, and just didn't finish this front properly yet. So, you know, that'll be another thing to do here. But right now I think I'm going to put some 3/16 in that brown panel around the corner there, and then on the other side do the same thing. Alright, so I used that flexible rubber spray can, and I got the rest of what needed done here all the way around. There is one little pinhole there where this rivet needs filled, or maybe, you know, it looks like there's a missing rivet right there. I'll have to remember to fill that. But anyhow, the Flex Seal knockoff stuff is put in here. Once it dries, I'll be able to put the styrofoam panels up. This is already dry on this side, the passenger side of the bus, but running out of daylight here today, so I'll be cutting insulation tomorrow. Okay, so my son Jeremiah helped me unload the trailer. We've got all this insulation stacked inside the bus. Looks like more than I thought it was now that it's in here, but hopefully that just means this is enough to completely finish insulating. We shall see. But anyhow, it's in here to stay out of the elements, so I'm going to start cutting it and putting it up on the side walls here. Okay, so back at the bus here. This, still have the stack of insulation. I got sheets up on these sides last time in the back. I'm going to keep going. Get this done here. Then we'll switch over toward the front here and do front to back with the sheets. After that, I'm going to be putting plywood up. Okay, so I put insulation there. Still got to put a little bit up at the top. Coming around here, I've got these pieces in. I'm kind of smacking them in place. They're tensioning a bit. Ultimately, the little holes like this, I'm going to squirt a little spray foam in, but that'll be after I put a lower layer of boards in with screwing into the metal, or riveting into the metal, the tension stuff, and then put another piece where the angle starts, come up this way. But right here, this is where ultimately the wood burning stove is going to possibly exit right here. So I just used some scrap to fill that for now. And then here there's going to be a window installed, so I didn't go all the way up with these, but I will go all the way up on that one and that one over there, similarly over here. So pretty close to getting the sidewalls covered with insulation so that I can start doing plywood work. Alright, so we've got this side insulated on the walls. Again, a window's going there, so no sense wasting insulation. And then right now I'm going to finish cutting this plywood for the center of the back. 26.5-inch piece there, and then I'll measure, once I put that one down, I'll measure the other one. Okay, so I'm back at the bus here. It's a pleasant evening. I've got a couple of days of dry weather at the right temperature for the primer to dry. So what I'm going to do is wire wheel the side of the bus. I'm going to get all these stickers wire wheeled off, get things scuffed up a bit everywhere. This is kind of a lighter gauge wire wheel. Get all the rust spots and the caulk off. Then we're going to just do a brush on coat of red oxide primer, and choosing brush coat because it's a lot easier than spraying for this step. And I'm still going to sand, still going to do some skim coat, etc., as I mentioned before, so there's really no reason to have to spray this right now. Alright, so right now I'm going to drill out these rivets and take the Thomas nameplates off the bus. I will most likely restore these. Actually, these are already metal. I thought they were plastic, but no, they're metal. What I'm going to do is sand off this chrome coat, and then when we do the bus colors, we will we'll do the inside where the red was in our burgundy metallic paint, and then I'll sand again and I'll coat the top carefully in the silver gray metallic that I plan to use, so that the Thomas nameplates actually match the bus tones. That'll be pretty cool. Okay, so this one's off as well. It's actually pretty freaking heavy. So anyhow, I'll put this in the bus and get the third one on the other side. So I've seen people painstakingly labor to take these stickers off. I'm not worried about the wire wheel scuffing up the paint. I'm going to put multiple primer coats on, a skim coat over the low spots, etc. So I'm just doing this the quick and dirty way. I probably will still have to, it's kind of heating the residue up. I'll still probably have to use some solvent to get the residue off, but this should be pretty quick. Okay, so this sticky reflector tape was down here. Took me a few minutes to just wire wheel it all off. And similarly, I got the 305 off here. You can see I'm going to need to use some solvent, clean all this up. I have some paint thinner I'm going to put on a rag and rub residue off here. Might take a couple passes with the removing the residue, but anyhow, certainly a lot easier than using a heat gun and a scraper. But I'm going to spend the time doing, remedial work with the paint, sanding, and possibly catching low spots that the grinder put in, etc. So it's 6 to 1, half dozen of the other. You got to do the work one way or the other. So I just drilled out 2 of these yellow reflectors, one in the middle and one up in the front there, and then there's a red reflector in the back. They look like they were installed by the factory. I assume that's the color code I'm supposed to adhere to. But when I do the lighting and reflectors, I'm actually going to look up the vehicle code for vehicles of this size to make sure I'm not missing anything. So that will save me some tickets later on if somebody wants to frustrate me. So anyhow, getting that last reflector off, and then I'll keep at the grinding, and then I'll break out the solvent. Alright, so I've removed the red reflector there. I'm going to remove these red reflectors in the back, along with unscrewing the lighting receptacles. I'm not sure if I want to just get new receptacles to match the old, or if I'm more interested in more updated modern lighting. I probably want the LEDs, but I don't know if I want to change the look of the school bus taillights or not. I guess it'll probably be a function of what I can find easily. You know, it doesn't matter enough to me to go all over and, you know, risk too many Amazon shipments of unknown quality. So anyhow, I'll probably just go to a Napa and see what the lighting center has there. But anyhow, getting these reflectors off, and then these, and then I'll make sure everything's off in the other side as well. So back at it. Alright, so I've also removed the Thomas plate from the rear of the bus here. Okay, so even with the grinder, it takes some effort to get these stickers off. I'm trying to go all in one direction so that the wheel sweeps the debris out of the way as I go, so that it doesn't just leave, you know, marks. I'll have to go back over that from left to right, the way the wheel spins, and see if I can get rid of the black marks without having to go over it with too much solvent. But anyhow, I've got a little bit left of this tape to go. It is some tough stuff, but the wheel is taking it off fairly quickly. So it was doing pretty well, then almost all at once the wheel started coming apart and shedding its bristles. So I'll have to see if I have another wire cup with the right wire. I can't use the braided one, that'll just rip the crap out of the metal. Okay, so I've got all the stickers peeled off here. Still got a few tabs of the duct tape that I put on, and up top when I got on the ladder, the emergency exit signs and things. But anyhow, down low here where I've been working, I've got the decals all up, and even the diesel decal on the fuel door. Now I'm going to do a light scuffing with the wire wheel across the whole bottom here, and then throw a quick coat of primer on it before quitting today. So that's the agenda. Okay, so if you wanted to know what it looked like to take a big wire wheel to your entire bus, it's pretty ugly. But shortly it'll all be red oxide like that along the bottom half here. So I'm going to have to get some sticks to put under the doors to hold them in place to paint. But yeah, that's the agenda right now. I'll throw a quick coat of primer from the rub rail on down. Okay, so I'm putting a quick first coat of primer on with a brush. Keep in mind this will turn out okay because it's going to get sanded and many more coats. The actual paint colors and such will be probably sprayed on, but I'm just trying to cover up what I've done here so far. Alright, so I brushed on a coat of red oxide primer on the bottom. Not too terrible for using a brush. So anyhow, I'm going to cap that can and get on out of here. Okay, so I'm back at the bus here, and pardon the light in the camera. Back at the bus, looks to me like paint here is all dry, or the primer. Yep, first coat's on. I'm sure I've got some runs. I tried to minimize those, but again, it will get sanded. What I'm going to do now is finish this top half, get the red oxide on it, and then I will move over to the other side. You'll notice the handles aren't painted. They're kind of stuck and hard to turn. If I can't rehab those, I'm probably going to replace them, so I didn't bother painting them right now. Alright, so I've been using the wire wheel to get the caulk kind of cleaned up around the rivet heads. You can see there's still going to be caulk in behind them, but you know, the bumps that are outside, I've got to cover that a little more, but I'm trying to make it more just a circle, but still leave the caulk behind the rivets. So anyhow, I've got where I can reach that far down to the end. I'm going to continue over to this front end, and then I will start using the ladder to use the wire wheel up at the top where I riveted the rain rail roof into the roof raise and on down. I'll move the ladder down, and then I'll move the ladder front to back to paint. Then we'll move to the other side. So the goal here is to get at least one good coat of primer. Well, this is an initial coat, so really I'll have 2 coats of primer, after I get all the way down on this side with the with painting the primer on with a brush. So anyhow, that's what I'm doing. Alright, so I've continued here and with the ladder and gotten 2 sections done here. Got to get the rest of this up top. After that, I'm going to get the blower and blow the dust off of it and put a coat of primer on. When I get to that part, I'll get that emergency exit decal there and that one there as well. I'll get them wire wheeled off. So anyhow, back at it. All right, so as I've gone over this with the wire wheel, I discovered I missed a rivet right there. I don't know how that happened, but I did. So I'm gonna get the drill and fix that right now. So I'm including this single missed rivet clip here because I want you guys to understand that when you're building a Skoolie, things take extra time just because of stupid stuff like I missed a rivet. I had to change out drill bits on the Makita, get it re-drilled. And then I had to go get the rivet gun hooked up, get some caulk. I got a single rivet here. And it's just little stuff like this that makes jobs take twice as long as you think they're going to. Okay, so I'm continuing here. At this point I've got, whoop, that was a little scary. I've got 5 sections and I'm about to tackle this emergency exit sign. I can tell you that the angle grinder with the wire wheel is pretty tiring to the arms. My hands are tingling, my arms are tired, so pretty rough stuff, but it's still better than better than alternatives. So anyhow, I'll keep at it. All right, so standing on that ladder, I'm about halfway through, but standing on the ladder using the angle grinder, it's pretty tiring. I'm getting a little weary, using a lot of muscles here to hold the thing and balance and so on. It's definitely not easy. I was expecting it to be way easier than it is. So anyhow, buster size, back at it. So this is my favorite time of year here in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania. Just look at the amazing colors there of nature with the trees. This is everywhere. And the weather's just a pleasant temperature, a little bit of chill, but not too cold. Favorite time of the year. Very little rain. Just a very pleasant time to get work done and enjoy nature. So figured I'd share. I was just looking over there as I took a break and was admiring the colors. Okay, so I'm getting there toward the end of this side with the grinding with the wire wheel. That Thomas logo's unfortunately gonna go. It'd be too hard to outline it and keep it pristine as I painted. So we'll definitely keep the metal placards on, but that one's disappearing under white paint eventually. So anyhow, a couple more panels here and I'll be able to blow this off and start painting the primer on the top half. Okay, so I just found 5 more rivets missing here. I don't know how I did that. Maybe I ran out of rivets at the time. Hard to say, but I don't have them right now. I'm very limited. I've got some on order of the 1/4 inch rivets, but I'll have to make note to go back and fix those. So anyhow, I'll probably draw an arrow right here pointing down just so I don't forget. Okay, so I ran the wire wheel, scuffed up the entire top half of the bus. Now it's time to blow this off and with a leaf blower, and then I'm going to put the primer coat on with the iron oxide. All right, so I'm ready to paint here on the top half. One trick I use is to wrap the paintbrush when it's wet in a Walmart bag instead of cleaning it. This is okay for primer coat. That way you still have a wet paintbrush that's not all hardened up. But I buy cheap paintbrushes for stuff like this that I don't clean. I just pitch when I'm done. The cost of solvent to clean them is too high. So anyhow, I'm going to get started painting at the top. Okay, so I've started at the front here. Got one section painted here by the door. I'll keep moving down. Okay, so my light's starting to fade here. I'm going to bring out one of my trouble lights to be able to keep painting. I want to finish the top half tonight. Okay, so it's quite dark and I'm still painting. And got a few more panels left to do to the end, probably 6 or 7. But I'm keeping on at it. Okay, so there's stars in the sky and I'm still working here. Almost done. In the days before electricity, this would be working by candlelight. Alright, so probably don't see very well, but it's dark. I got the paint or the primer up. This whole side of the bus has been coated. The bottom needs another coat below the rub rail, but we're calling it quits here. Okay, so I'm back at the bus here the next evening, and I have to say I'm fairly pleased with the results, especially considering that I was doing this paint in the dark after about here to the back. So it looks pretty good. I'm sure there's runs that I'll have to sand out and whatnot, but all in all, not too shabby. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to get into the bay, run the wire wheel in the bay, and blow it out and get it painted. And then I'm going to shift to other spots. My goal is by the end of the day tomorrow to have primer all the way around the bus. So it might be a bit aggressive, but we'll see if we can pull it off. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is running the wire wheel in the bay. You can see I've scuffed that up there. I'm going to get the big fan from inside and start blowing air through the bay as I work to get the dust out of my way. Okay, so Saturday morning, my plan today is to get the entire other side of this bus done and get the under storage bay done with primer. I got to use the grinder with the wire wheel. Last night, I cooked that Porter cable grinder, gave it a hot supper, as AVE would say, and it won't chooch anymore. So, well, it might turn on, but it'll probably catch fire pretty quickly. It was smoking and stinking pretty bad, so the windings in the motor are definitely cooked. But anyhow, we'll see if this cheap Walmart angle grinder can do better. It's been a champ so far, so we'll keep going. Hopefully I won't cook it too, otherwise I got to spend another 20 bucks, you know. But that thing doesn't owe me anything. Okay, so I'm about to start grinding here. I've got the other angle grinders set up, so I'm going to get at it for the day here. Lots of grinding to do, lots of painting to do. Okay, so if you recall, there was, under where I put the door, there was what looked to be a factory patch behind the rub rail that wasn't done well. And this is the result, all the way down. I ended up having to pull this strut mount off because it was so darn rusty. Water had been pouring in here for years, dripping down this metal and just rusted it out. So anyhow, I'll have to eventually patch this with fresh metal. I'm thinking I want to get some sheet metal and cap all this. I'll paint it now, and then I'll probably cap and rivet a flat piece of sheet metal in over this corrugated metal, just to make it easier to get in the bay and whatnot, because laying on the corrugated doesn't feel good. It'll reinforce it as well, making it stronger, because I do know that there's a lot of rust on the second layer underneath. So some sheet metal would probably be a good idea here. So I'll probably do that. Okay, so got almost half the bay done. Got up on the frame rail there, scuffed it. See all the surface rust left over. I'm going to, instead of painting this today, I'm going to use some rust cutter phosphoric acid based rust converter. I'm going to soak the bay down in it, let it do its thing, and then I'll paint it after I remove that with the pressure washer. So no paint today on the bay, but I am also, I think I've cooked that Walmart grinder too. I just need to go and get a more horsepower grinder for this task. It's just creating too much heat in the motors. So I think it's because of the corrugated surface. It kind of binds up the wheel constantly. So anyhow, I'm gonna go run and grab a better grinder from town here. Okay, so I just got the finest one that Harbor Freight had. This is an 11 amp one. Hopefully that will not melt down doing the rust in the bay. This one has a paddle switch, so that ought to be more convenient for turning it on and off. So anyhow, I'm gonna get going here. Have to say that this Harbor Freight grinder is kind of a beast. It's making short work and really getting down to the metal quick on this this bay. So far it doesn't seem to be getting hot either, so that's good. Okay, so I changed things up from a wire cup to I don't know what you call that, but more of a straight wire wheel. And so it's not launching as many bristles at me, or I don't know if it's launching any bristles actually, but it's working pretty well. So I'm almost 2/3 done here with the bay. After that, I'm going to hit it with that phosphoric acid. Alright, so I finished here in the bay with the wire wheel. I'm going to blow it out with this leaf blower and spray some rust cutter on it. That's a spray bottle from Tractor Supply. It's about 20 bucks a bottle. Works really good for a rust converter. So spray that on it, and then I'll get working on the sides of the bus while the rust converter does its job. Okay, so I've started grinding this side of the bus using my old Walmart angle grinder. I cooked it pretty good, but it still runs, so I'll run it till it dies. And so I'm going to do the bottom half to start with and get it painted. Then I'll move to the top half. Well, I might not paint, depending on how quickly I do this. I might paint the whole side of the bus. We'll see. Alright, so it's coming along here. I got the 305 sticker off. I got the reflector off along the side here. And then I got the bus company stickers off. Down there I've got some more reflector, but figured I'd log the progress here. Okay, so I've got the bottom half here on this side scuffed up with the wire wheel. Got all the decals scraped off with the wire wheel. So I'm going to run the wire wheel on the top, and then I'm going to paint as quickly as I can here. Alright, so I got the top half brushed off with the wire wheel as well. Now I'm going to put as much paint on as I can till it's time to go. Okay, so I'm back at the bus here on Sunday. This is from last night when it was getting dark and it was starting to rain. So I got to finish painting here. There's going to be rain later. The radar says about 8 o'clock. I just want to get enough primer on here that it's tacky before that happens. Shouldn't be a big deal if it gets wet after it's tacked up. So usually takes about 40 minutes for this primer to get good and tacky. So anyhow, I'm going to finish the bottom here, and then I'll start up at the top with the ladder and work down. I'm most concerned with parts where I've made bare metal, you know, come to the surface here, or what am I trying to say, where I've ground to bare metal. I'm concerned that it'll flash rust if I don't get paint on it. Alright, so I got this bottom half primered here. Now I'm going to move up to the top half of this side with the ladder. Okay, so it's coming along here. After grinding and painting for days on end, my arm sure is tired. But I got to keep on till it's done here. Alright, so I finished putting a coat of primer on this side of the bus now. And then I went around to the other side and got the bottom half again. I'll show you that here in a second. So any spots where the yellow was trying to shine through, I put a little primer on here real quick. So at this point, it's starting to drizzle, and I'm going to call it quits on this. Light's fading too. So the plan here is to get the front and back next with some primer. And then that'll probably be the way I'll let it sit until the winter's over, unless I get a streak of dry weather and decent temperatures, in which case I may do the painting. But there's a lot of sanding that has to happen too, so that sounds pretty doubtful. It's most likely going to be left like this for quite a while. So anyhow, that's it. Alright, so it looks like I finished putting the primer up just in time. We've got sprinkles coming from the heavens here. You know, one of the family friends drove by and said, you know, that looks like a 40-foot turd. I have to agree, I can see that. The primer's not exactly the most desirable color for a vehicle. So, but anyhow, I feel pretty good. I got it covered. It isn't going to rust over the winter months here. It'll be protected. So that's a success. Okay, so what I'm doing now in preparation to paint the front and back with the primer is I'm removing the lighting, and I'm going to remove the the mirror arms, both the top ones and these bottom ones. I'm thinking I might order some new window arms. These are a little bit rusty, or I could rehab these. I'll have to play it by ear, I guess, but you know, I'm thinking I'll check the price on new ones, or at least used ones in really good condition from like AAA in Arizona. But anyhow, I'm removing the lighting, and that'll be in the front and the back. So I've started on this first one, and then I remembered I should probably videotape some of this. So this one's been a little bit of a pain. The grounding strap here, that screw head's completely corroded off, so I'm going to drill it out. Alright, so I have the headlight bezels off, pulled the headlights out, and also removed the turn signals. Good thing, even they looked okay on the outside, the water seals were broken on one of them, and there was corrosion on that one. The other one was in fairly good shape here on the passenger side, but you know, ultimately I'm thinking new fixtures are probably worth a little bit of extra money here, so likely LEDs, although I'll need to look at the resistance for the turn signals. Alright, so now I'm going to be removing these tail lights. We've got the stop light, the turn signal, the reverse lights, and I guess it might be a running lamp, I'm not sure. But anyhow, I'm going to remove these. And I'm also going to remove at least one of the top clearance lights so I can match that at the auto parts store. Alright, so I just pulled one of the top marker lights so I'd have a sample for making sure the screw holes lined up. Or maybe if they're in good enough condition, I may just replace the bulbs on these with LED bulbs. We'll see. Okay, so I got all these light fixtures off the back of the bus. So that took some doing. It was a little bit rusted on. All the fasteners were pretty bad. When I put the new ones on, I'm going to get stainless steel fasteners. That's just common sense for outdoor exposure where there's no paint. So anyhow, I'm going to go see if I can either match these or get better fixtures. For the taillights, I think I'm going to go with probably an integral fixture that has lamps going down vertically, and then I'll patch the holes here with some Bondo and from the back with sheet metal and with Bondo. So that's my thought, but we'll see what they have. Okay, so the rust converter leaves this white powder on. I'm going to hit that with the pressure washer, clean up the rust converter, let it air dry, and then we'll put a coat of primer on it. Probably also red oxide. Alright, so I have the pressure washer running. Pass it through the bay here. We're going to clean this off. Okay, so I finished spraying out the bay after the rust converter. I'm going to let that air dry and should be able to paint it tomorrow or Saturday. Right now I'm going to go in the back here and run the grinder on the engine hatch, scuff that up, clean it up, and then we'll try to get some paint on that. I may work up higher. Daylight's fading, so I'm not sure how much I can get done tonight, but I probably won't go higher than the window because I still need to tackle those lights up there. Right, so I made it look awful with the wire wheel, so now we're ready to put some primer coat on it. Okay, so the light's fading fast, but I did get a coat of primer on this back hatch for the engine bay. So I also got the top of the bumper where it was rubbed down to the metal. That'll get painted eventually, either black or silver. I'm not sure what color yet, probably silver. But anyhow, so that coat's on, we'll let that dry. Then I'll keep working up the back and fixing removing those lights up there will be probably the next step. Then scuffing this back area and getting primer on it all the way up to the top. So anyhow, that's it for tonight. Okay, so it's the next day. This primer's dry. So what I'm going to do today is paint the under storage bays with primer. They're dried out now. So actually it's not going to be red oxide. I'm going to switch to gray primer. I'm running low on red oxide. I might have just enough to finish the front and back of the bus of the red oxide, so I'm going to use a can of gray that I have, so that'll be better. It's a little lighter, a little more light reflected down there for when I spray paint it white. Okay, so right now I'm in the under storage bay using a brush to put this magic gray tractor primer on. After this is all painted and primed here, I'm probably going to use a bunch of Rust-Oleum white spray paint, or I may use the red tractor paint. I got to think about that, but I got a lot of cans of Rust-Oleum paint that would be nice and reflective for lighting up the bay, so probably do Rust-Oleum white. Okay, so I've got a third of the bay painted. Got the side walls. Got the frame itself and the bottom parts of the floor pans. So I'm going to move into the middle section inside, and then I'll go to the other side and get the last third. Okay, so here it is. Got a nice thick brushed on coat of primer throughout the whole bay. I think later I'm going to cut sheet metal and rivet it flat so that the corrugations are not, it's kind of hard to crawl in there, but it would also strengthen the floor. So I think I'm going to rivet some flat sheet metal in place, nothing heavy gauge, maybe 14 or 16 gauge, and yeah, not going to do it right away, but at some point. So anyhow, almost done priming the bus. I've just got a little bit left on the back, and then I've got the front to do. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is removing the flasher lamps from the rear here. Got the drill ready to go. Hopefully they unscrew easily. I'm hoping the visors kept them from rusting out too much. Well, no such luck. I don't know if you can see in there, but there is literally no head left on that screw. So I think what I'm going to do is shatter the lenses with the hammer and get a pair of pliers and break them off and hit it with the grinder, whatever I got to do to get these stupid things off. But this is why you buy an Arizona bus instead of a Pennsylvania bus. Wow, look how incredibly rusted to crap this is. And we got the bulbs hanging by their ground wires. So I think in the back, well, for now at least, I'm going to remove these school bus, I guess, visors for the lamps. See if I use them later, maybe to protect a video camera or the off-road lights or something, but regardless, they're going to need to be cleaned up, and they may be too rusted to even use. We'll see how they're built. Now, this is more involved than I have time for tonight, so I think I'm going to call it quits for the evening.